Hi everyone, this is Kirti Mutadkar, President and CEO at United Ag. Today, I actually feel so honored and so fulfilled that I'm serving an industry that has leaders like Rodney Braga. Rodney Braga is the owner of Braga Farms, and he spoke at a conference just a few weeks ago at Disneyland. What he had to say at the conference about women empowerment, about building communities, about just leading Braga Farms in a very different way was actually beyond inspirational. Morning, Rodney. How are you?
Well, I'm fantastic, Curdy. Thank you for asking.
The reason I wanted to meet with you and the reason I wanted to chat with you is because I run a Women Ag Academy. So I lead it for United Ag. And every time we talk about who is your any female leader that people look up to, or anybody that they feel is somebody they would emulate or copy, right? Your name comes up. So that was very interesting the first time that happened. I was looking for a female name and here comes Rodney Braga. So I'm like, who is Rodney Braga? And when Laura is one of our Women Ag leaders, and when she talks about you, I can see why, because you have been, the way you've empowered people at Braga Farms, that speaks volumes, and I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Well, that's very gracious for you to say, and certainly, Laura has been with us for, I'd say 20 years. She's probably going to tell me it's 25 or 30. I'm not really sure, forever, and really has helped us build our business. And we kind of started out together, not really knowing what we were doing, just a farmer. And then once we started getting into more business lines, we kind of learned together ever since then. So she was with us when we were probably 50 employees, and now I don't know, she tells me maybe 1,800 team members, right?
Right.
So,
right.
And been here the whole time, yeah.
So Rodney, where does that start from? So when I look at the history of where Braga Farm comes from and your history, where does that different way of leading come from? Is that based on the way you were raised? Is that based on...
I think so. I think we were, we're a family operation, and as you've gotten larger, it's hard to keep that family operation, so we still are, but you have to bring in corporate levels of, measuring things, and it just has to happen. But trying to keep that, the idea that we really are still just a family operation. I mean, my brother's here. I've got two cousins and an uncle. It started with my grandfather, Sebastian, and my grandmother, Josephine Braga. And they started here, and we're in their old house actually as our office, and we've expanded it. But
this
here,
is the house that we're in right now?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this was
that's awesome.
Their home, right? And they started the farming here in 1928. So this is 95 years. And
so this is where it all started.
Yep, right here.
I'm right now.
Yep.
Okay,
Unbelievable.
nice,
Yeah,
nice.
And now we farm. This is the home ranch, but we farm 10,000 acres in the Salinas Valley, and then down in Imperial Valley, and some in Yuma. So we're a couple states now, and then we've expanded into processing facilities and a grower shipper. But I started off on the farm with my grandfather and my dad, and they taught me to do all the stuff that the team members were doing, right? So when I'm 10, 12 years old, I'm moving sprinkler pipe with them. I'm driving tractor. You get a good appreciation for the hard work that it takes, certainly. And I think my grandfather and my dad used to tell me that, really all we were was the ground, the soil, and the people that are helping us farm it, because we can't do it by ourselves, right? So it's really those two things. It's you got to have the people and you got to have the soil and the water, and that's it, right? And it's a long-term plan, and you're a farmer.
Right.
Right. I'll tell people that we have, we're using water wells that my grandfather put in the 1930s. And then we have people here. One gentleman's been here for a little over 50 years, right?
Wow. Yeah.
And we have tons of a few 40s, tons of 30s, right. More than you can even count. And I think it really is just, you treat people with respect. We're going to treat you like a human person.
Beings, yep.
But then we need a hard day's work. And then those people that we have, they emulate what you do. They see that. You end up attracting those type of people. If someone comes here and they're not a great people person or can't get along, I'm not making the decisions, but the people that are hiring them, it's, they're going to find a new position for them or a way that they're going to work. All the success now really in the last, I'd say 20 years for all the wonderful team members we have goes to the people that are in these positions, because I'm hiring very few people. In the last 10 years, I've probably maybe hired 5 people, right? Directly, right? It's all happening with everyone else.
Right. But you're setting that example, right?
Yeah. And I think, we talked a little bit earlier and I said, look, I don't think we're doing anything different, but I realize, thinking about it, I'm like, I guess what we are doing different is that we really are just trying to fill the position with the best person, right?
Yeah.
And we really, really don't care what you look like or, if
what you sound like.
No, exactly. We just, can you do the job?
Yeah.
And that's really it. And maybe that's something that's very basic to farming, right? Because the job's got to get done, right? It doesn't matter about anything else, right?
That's so interesting. This is my 13th or 14th podcast interview. This has been the theme across everyone, right? The people that comes first, which is, I don't think that speaks of any other industry. And the interesting part is when you talk to somebody else, like let's say where I am at or whatever, that's not how people think agriculture is. But it is driven by the people in the soil.
And investing in those people. So, and you talked about Laura earlier, has been with us for so long, doing such a fantastic job. She runs all of our human resources. Really, she's the chief operation officer for people, right?
She's a chief people's person.
Exactly. And I say we kind of grew up in this position together, me and her, and God, we made so many mistakes, right? Way back when, and we learned from them. It's really the only way you can learn. And we still make some, not as big and not as many, right? Yep. And now she'll even kid me. She's like, well, we've got this going on. What's going to happen if we don't do this? I'm like, yeah, it's going to come out bad. She's like, so, what do you want to do? Right? You know what I mean?
Right.
But she's been doing it. She knows the outcomes before they're going to come, and she knows what's going on. But probably the last thing, probably about 10 years ago, is that we realized that we weren't training our team enough, especially the foremen and supervisors, right? Probably 15 years ago now. And investing in them in that way. And it paid off in, health and workers' comp things and other problems. Because I think it probably occurs in other industries, but especially in ours, you take the person that was the best broccoli harvester or whatever, and when you're looking you need a new foreman, that he or she becomes the foreperson, right? Well, some people can know how to just instinctively handle a group of people, but it's very rare. And then those folks do a really good job, and then they stay with us for 20 and 30 years, right? And we're not having the changeover in management, but we're always investing in them, right? And sending them to every year we're sending them off to all new classes, right? Whenever we have a chance. And that probably is something that it's hard for companies, I think, to measure what you get out of it. But for us, it's been pretty easy because we're like, these folks are just doing a bang up job now, right?
Yeah, because when you treat people that way, it's not work anymore, right? Like I was telling you earlier, when people think of retiring or whatever, I feel I love what I do, and it's like vacation every day, and why would I do that? And that's the same rings true for people, other people working, because if you treat them well and it becomes a part of the family, then it's not, you give 1,000%, right? That then it becomes a no-brainer. You're not abusing the system, or you're like, oh, what's the least possible I can do and get away? That doesn't even cross somebody's mind.
100%. And then what we'll see is that if you're a new supervisor and you come to us, you see how they go about their job and how serious they take everything and what they do. And if you're either going to do that, we don't really ever have to terminate that many people.
Right.
They come in, they see the deal. Usually by now we're hiring people that other people are recommending on our team. And so they come in with that attitude, but it's sort of like they see what it needs to take place, and they just sort of do that. And they see, hopefully I think they see that, in our, whether it be our chief operating officer, who you would expect who's Colby Pereira, has been with us for maybe a year and a half, wonderful young lady. You'd expect autonomy at that position, but a lot of our other positions, whether it be, our safety, our human resource positions, our farming people, I give them a wide area of responsibility. They really come to me with very little. They're really just coming to me now and saying, we had this issue and this is how we resolved it. They're never really even asking my opinion anymore because, and I told them quite a while ago, I said, I'm so far removed from the day to day that I'm just going to give you wrong advice, right? I'm going to know.
They know more than you, right?
Well, 100%. Curdy might have been working for us for 20 years, and 10 years ago I used to interact with her quite a bit, and now it's like, that's the, I don't know what you guys know now. I don't even know where they are most of the time. Like they're running, like they understand that they're almost like running the business with me. We're spread out with farming districts with 800 miles, and so a lot of times I'll call one of them and they're down in Arizona or something and handling an issue, right? And it's a Saturday or whatever, right? And they're just self-starters and movers.
Which is interesting that you say that it feels easy when somebody listening to this and saying, oh, yeah, of course, you do this. But that's very, very hard to find employees like that, because that takes a different kind of an individual to be that, to take it to that extreme of saying, okay, I'm owning this. I'm accountable for this.
Entrepreneurial, really.
Yeah, because I don't need a rod to tell me, right, what to do, what not to do. This is me. You have that self-passion to do it. So that actually, going back to the way you lead and the way you've set an example, I think has a lot to do with that. And I'm pretty sure Laura with her team, and when they're hiring, they are doing something really right to get the right people in, because that's very hard. A lot of companies struggle with that.
As we've grown, we've at some point a few years ago, we took over a facility which had probably 125 people working there, and we took it over, and we saw the difference that our training made with other training, the good folks. And I'd say after 4 years, probably half of them were there. The other ones I don't think we terminated a single person.
Yeah.
That just decided that maybe this wasn't the fit for them. It makes you feel good to see, I came in and said, when we took that over, I did very little, right? This was a kind of a major operation. We bought a facility and we bought their business, whether it was, so HR, safety, occupational safety, finance, operations, really just grabbed it.
Yeah.
Right.
So where does that come from? Your grandfather, where does that come from? Because that's training is like, you don't learn that at school.
And I think working here my whole life, they gave me, as a young kid, a lot of responsibility and
test out some
and a little
things.
Bit of a rope to make mistakes, right? And then that was okay. You're going to make mistakes. I always tell people, look, I've made more mistakes than anybody that works with us, right? Because I've been here for so long and I've made some really bad ones, right? Business decisions. So you're going to make mistakes. You're going to learn from it. Don't make the same one twice.
Correct.
And I don't know, maybe it's a little bit of a little laziness of me, right? It's like, hey, so, and they come in like, what do you think about this? I'm like, well, listen, I'm like what do I have you here for, right? Like, you're going to figure it out. And they do. And I think, and they end up being like, wow, I can do these things. I'll make mistakes. And Rod's not going to say, what the heck? He's going to say, okay, we do these things. So they get that
it's a learning
ability.
Thing. Yeah.
And so just the other day, one of our, my chief operating officer asked me, how are you doing? I said, I'm doing fantastic. She says, we got, how are you doing? She says, well, we got about, there's different things going on. I said, actually, I'm fantastic. I haven't really got any problems.
That's good.
And quite honestly, it's just kind of a mindset as you get older, right? Honestly, we probably did have, like the markets are down, the costs are up. Yeah. There's a whole bunch of like real issues, right? But at the end of the day, it's like, look, we're going to be all right.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I got the little kid, I got a little family, trying to raise them.
Your health is,
everyone's got this kind of stuff. We've been here for 95 years. Yep. We've been through a heck of a lot worse than a little bit of inflation.
Right.
Right? Gosh, now we can say we've been through a pandemic.
Right.
Right? But, we've been through World War II. Obviously, we've been through the Great Depression, right? Here, you know, I mean, and somehow we're here, right? And we're just going to keep pushing forward. A lot of us like to say, hey, we're in California, you know, man, tough business in California, right? Yeah. Monterey County is probably the toughest county to farm in California. California is the toughest state in the country. Regulations, you know, all these deals. Look at the other side, the barriers to entry. There's nobody coming and deciding they want to start farming in California. We know what we're doing. We have the land, we have the water, and we have the people.
It's the perspective, right? You're so right. I mean, I've been doing a lot of thinking too. I guess it all comes to us when we are crossing the 50s and get a little introspective and think through things. We had a tough time last year too. We ended the year really, it was a very good way. But as we going through it, as the investments and the things were inflation, investments, and all the things that you mentioned, I felt some of the things, even the mistakes that were made, the relationships got stronger. Some internal relationships. Somebody realized, oh, this is what it is. It was a learning thing, right? You look back and you think, yeah, it was tough. It was hard. Maybe there were 3 a.m. like those get up in the morning and like you're stressed, but then at the end of the day, it's all good. That's a win, right? I mean, the things will be up and the things will be down.
No, absolutely.
We take it as tried. Yeah.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
We've got probably 7 different businesses all under our family of companies, sales offices here and in different places. So there's a lot going on. Yeah. And so I kind of float between what's the kind of going, you know, who needs me the most right now. And like I said, I really just, they kind of bounce things off of me, right? And they come up with the solutions. It's been said many times before, you know, somebody asks you, you're a CEO of a company, even a family company. So, you know, what's your real job? And so, and I'm stealing this from somebody. It's just really 3 things. Yeah. And it's, you know, I've got to, you know, find, retain, recruit, and retain top people, right? I've got to, maintain a balance sheet of the company that's profitable income statement and a balance sheet so that we have financing there for us. Yeah. And the third one, I don't remember what the heck it was, but it was just like, and then just let people do their work, right? Those are really, that's my deal.
My thing, I was thinking about this, what's my role? I feel it's building connections is what I'm boiling it down to, where I think that's a little, like I was telling you earlier, as we are technologically going in different directions, as people are talking about these chat GPTs and stuff like that, I kind of feel, so especially COVID, I think taught us that having a connection, being kind of the human aspect of it, that's what I've been thinking about. It's like
we learned a lot through COVID. We had to have everybody go home and work remotely. Yeah. So the technology, we were able to scramble, sort of get it done. Right. And then we learned from that there were team members there was probably a small that were more productive working at home.
Oh, yep.
But on the people side of it, we saw pretty quickly that, people, I think, need to get into the office because there's the social aspect. There's the team, and they could probably get the job done.
It's like the connection you need.
Yeah, I think it's like me, I would go insane, right? I mean, my if I was home all the time, right? The kids and everything. My wife, I have no idea how she, right?
She'll be like, "Can you please go to work today?"
Oh, 100%. And so, but just the interaction. I think when you get to work, there's so much of that built up with folks at every level in our company. That's a positive that you don't want to get away from. And I think the health aspect of it, right? There's just something about, getting up, getting dressed, getting out of the house, going to see folks at work and having these little conversations and talking to somebody maybe about the kids and the problems you're having at school with the teacher or something, right? If we're all locked away at home, the mental health is not going to be very good, I don't think, at all. And then the health, physical health is going to deteriorate as well. Some of the technology that we like to keep was that, so sometimes we have a lot of meetings on our Teams deal where we're all in the same office, but that part still works better because instead of rounding everybody up for this 10 o'clock thing, and by the time they wander in and somebody's on the phone and then somebody gets pulled away, it's like, boom, you turn your computer on at 10 and by 10:12 we're done, when before it was 10:30 and people start, it's like, and they just, so those things have worked out, really well.
So going into, you talked about soil and you talked about people, and there is a perception out there, right? When you think agriculture, especially when I talk to somebody, I'm like, oh, agriculture, there you go. People roll their eyes. But we are the stewards of earth and stewards of the land, because like you said, nobody's going to come into California and farm, or, I mean, there's no, right? Because, but you have to take care of this, because if you've done this, your grandparents, you have your kids coming in behind you, right?
Farmers were the original environmentalists,
right?
Because everything is the soil for us.
Exactly.
And if we don't maintain it, then we have nothing, right? And so, we're sitting here in a little conference room we have, and you're looking at a picture of our home ranch behind me. And this is where my grandfather came in, 1928. And the soil today is in better condition than it was when he got here in 1928. And now, we're using way less water. We're using less pesticides and fertilizers. Really, for us, I was taught by my grandfather and my dad, growing up here in the 1970s. As a young boy, I was 10 years old in 76. And they never used the word organic then, or sustainable, which are huge, but that's how we always farmed. It's just the way we farmed.
That was the way of doing things.
For the soil.
Yeah.
You tried to use as least as you could. So when we transitioned into the organic, a lot of the things, that just means you're not using synthetic fertilizers and pesticides, but also you have to take care of the soil. You need cover crops. You need rotation. It becomes more important when you don't have the fertilizer that you can put on and the pesticides that you can do conventionally, right? So you have to have this really healthy soil. And that's what we had been doing all along, right? So that really helped us. And now we're moving on to the new deal is regenerative, which is we're sort of low tillage on the ground, but it means you need more cover crop. It means how you're gonna use the water more wisely. And so we're always kind of pushing the envelope to see where we're going to be. And that's another thing that I've told on the farming team. And look, we're trying things, and we've got to try things that we believe are going to fail. Because everyone's been farming good farmland in the United States for 100 to 200 years, right? There's nothing new, really. So it's just going back and finding the things that didn't work 10 years ago or 20 years ago. But why?
So the regenerative farming, the drip irrigation, all that was there before, but you're just
putting it together,
innovative, different.
Well, and I'll show you that. So this minimum till, which is for us, our fuel costs are so large, right? We had tried this minimum till in the 80s, which really meant you see those huge John Deere tractors with the big tracks, and these things will burn 20, 30 gallons of diesel an hour. You started using these deals that would only go 6 inches deep, 8 inches deep, and you reclaim the beds. But what we found was you didn't break up the soil down below, and pretty soon you had more water runoff, so you're not saving water, and the crops wouldn't grow. The change that we've been tinkering with now, and it seems to be working, is we're keeping the beds, but in the center of the bed, we're planting a ryegrass. And these ryegrass will make a root system that's 8 feet deep if you leave it there perennially.
Okay.
And that is airing out the soil for you. So we go in and we lightly till where the rows are, maybe 8-10 inches. And then we've got in the center, we've got about 40 inches of basically a grass growing that we keep mowing down, but we don't disturb that, and it goes down. And then if in the farming, you've got the furrows where the tractor drives. Right. We've started planting a clover, so it doesn't get very large, but it makes a root system. So we'll sprinkle crops out of the ground, then use the drip after. We have no water runoff out of these fields.
Oh, that's interesting.
And now, so I'm thinking you can't do this. I was without doing these things, it never worked. I knew it before, it didn't work. Yeah. And so I go out and I stick my little lettuce knife in the ground, and it just sinks into the ground because this root system underneath, right?
So is that something that you found?
So this is something that we've just found in the last couple of years. So we've dedicated about 100 acres to this now.
To testing it out.
And are working it this way. So we've got a piece that it's 4 years we've been doing this. And we actually, maybe we cheated a little bit. We took the toughest piece of dirt we had, not the best piece, and I said, well, here's the toughest piece, right?
Let's try
see
to break
if we
it
can
down.
start here. And it's actually doing better than the way we were farming it before.
Because you're using less carbon, right? The
yes,
diesel
that's the
and
big
stuff,
deal,
right? Because your ground gets done natural.
So you're using less, and now you're you're capturing it and keeping it in the soil. Right.
Also, the carbon is kept in the soil.
Yep.
And the environment is okay, right? Because
Yeah.
you don't have the diesel running.
Yeah.
Are you dedicating some section of your resources to like innovations like this?
Right. So we're always looking at whether it's on the farming side, the harvesting side. We are having, just like everybody else, it's like, can we take more labor hours out of the crop?
Correct.
Right. And that, so there's a lot of technology coming in that is in all of ag, which is kind of taking the people out. We just don't have the people. Right. It's just there's just not around. Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
You could pay $50 an hour. You can't
no
fill.
Access,
they're not there.
Yep.
So I do worry that we can't take all the people out, because somebody we still have a lot of people in the world. So but that'll never happen. Right. But we're so labor intensive in ag, especially in row crops like we do. We never laid anybody off. It was just those crews were starting to get into their being 60 years old, and there was no young folks coming into the business.
So so how does this happen? So when you find something innovative that works, right? So you're leading the charge in that. Do you educate the other people working in that, and they adapt?
Yeah.
How does that
so
work?
we've so we take a lot of pride in things that we do here, and we've got a couple young folks that are kind of leading this charge, and they really are becoming quite expert in some of these new ideas. But I guess maybe that might be open source is what somebody in the tech might call it.
Yep.
We're not keeping anything, to ourselves. Guys, we just a couple weeks ago had, I think there was about 50 different farming organizations out here, and we were kind of showing what we were doing. And we had different government agencies out here from California and the federal government looking at what we were doing, from all different agencies, and really, I think, showing them because so far, I talked about the kind of successes we had, but there's been 20 failures, right? There's been way more failures. But it's showing them the failures, really, is saying, like, look, we're going to fail a lot.
As you were talking through this and talking about the innovative things, and you look at other industries and you're thinking, I know, isn't one of your initiatives to be carbon free by 2025, right? So did I get that correct?
So that was, I think, probably 10 years ago we said 2025. And we're not going to make it. But somebody said,
causing a dent.
So we had to put a number on it, because if we said 2050, we would have started working on it in like 2040.
Yeah.
So I said, look, we're gonna set this kind of goal
to make the urgency.
And so I'm here saying, we're not going to be there. My young folks that are running the deal said, we're not as far away as you think. Actually, what's interesting here is in California we don't get. So we're cutting down on like water, which is our electricity,
right?
Which is great. But there's so much renewable energy in California that we're not really getting credit for that as you would, right? So I'm like, well, wait a minute, I'm cutting my electricity use in half. They're like, yeah, but half the electricity in California is renewable, so you're only getting a 25% credit. I'm like, well, wait a minute, now you're stacking the deck, right?
That's true. That's true. It's so fulfilling that agriculture are the true environmentalists, actually.
Well, we are, and because you have to maintain your soil, like I said. Now, our soil is in excellent shape. The thing is, can we keep it in such excellent shape without doing that deep tillage that we would do every fall? That I was ingrained into me. You've got to do this deep tillage, because that's what keeps the soil loose, and you got to we do a lot of. We've always done cover crops. You're growing this. To just only purpose is to till it back into the ground, so you maintain the soil and you always check on it. But the other part of it is, whether it's being carbon neutral, it's saving water, which is all good for the environment, is good to the bottom line. I can remember, back when I was in college, and a lot of people, all farmers, you guys, you waste water. I'm like, well, we pump our own water. And back then, our electric bill is like $200,000 a month. We don't like to drop an ounce more than we need, right? And they're like, oh, I didn't really think of it that way. It's like, well, you can't think that we're some sort of evil business people, yet we just want to throw money away, right? We're not going to do that, right? Same thing with trying to save diesel now. It's just so expensive, right? And then trying to save man hours. It's not only the cost, but you just simply don't have the folks, right?
Correct.
And a lot of our folks are, a lot of our tractor drivers are, they've been here for a long time, right? And when they retire, there's not a whole bunch of them to come back. So you have limited resources, whether it be human and water. Of course, in California,
Right.
you've got to figure out how to keep doing what you're doing with I think less.
Yeah, it's always when you talk to somebody else, is that, oh, you're wasting water, right? And then I talk about our cancer cases have gone up big time in our claims cost. And somebody said, oh, is that because you guys are in agriculture and you use chemicals? Is that why it's higher in agriculture? So it's always that perception,
Yep.
right? You're fighting because it's like the drought. Oh, yeah, because it's your industry, right? That's using up the water. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, we're using on say our home ranch here from when we 95 years ago, we're using 80% less water to grow twice the crops, right? Just with evolving technologies, right?
Right. And everything that we, like you said, the pesticide, all the chemicals, everything is a very thoughtful process that goes into it. This is how you cut the claims cost, by eating the California grown produce, because that's the best produce out there.
Absolutely. It's, trying to get my 9 and 10-year-old to eat all of it is.
You should take them around and do that.
But they, as my 9-year-old would tell me, she learned in school that your taste buds change every 2 weeks. She told me, or 10 days, right? And I'm like, where did you get this? And I heard something on the radio talking about it too. Like you get a whole new set of taste buds. Like,
I didn't know that. Every 2 weeks?
Every 2 weeks or something.
Oh,
but
okay.
But she's equating it to like, that's why she used to like this and now she doesn't like this, right?
Okay.
Because mom is always saying, but you used to eat the heck out of this. Yeah, well,
that was 2 weeks ago.
That was 2 weeks ago. So now I'm completely different, right?
I know. So anything I missed, Rodney, anything you think for people who are listening we should talk about?
We certainly have a lot of females in high positions, right?
Mm-hmm.
From sales, chief operating officer, CFO, in all of our C-line positions, really, is I want to tell people that, I wasn't looking to do that. It was really just, I think, we do need to take credit as an organization, but not me, is that we're looking for the best person.
Yeah.
And that's how it fell, right?
Yeah.
And each time they look, and we're just looking for the best person for the job. And
happened to be a female.
Right? And we're just always looking for bright people that want to push a little bit and want to feel good about what they're doing, know that they have a real place here,
Right.
and that we're growing. We're a growing company. Some of our little marketing is that, just growing, right? We like to say we're growing crops, we're growing companies, we're growing families, communities, people. So many of our folks, they're all involved in, whether it be the 4-H club or their kids' soccer. You start realizing that you have all these people that are so busy doing a great job for you, but whatever little town in this valley that they live in, they're also the busiest ones that we have, and the ones that do the best job are also super busy when they're out of here, right?
Yep.
Because they're working with the kids' sports deal, they're working for the Rotary, they're working for different charitable organizations. And that's probably one of the things we take the most pride in, is like not only what they're doing here at work, but they're really involved in the communities that we're involved in.
Yeah. You're building the community here. Yeah.
What we need is what our team members need. They need more affordable housing. So we try to get involved in our communities to get more affordable housing. They need better health care. We need that for them, right?
Right. Exactly.
We need to try to find ways and get that done.
Great. Agreed. One of the things that our chief medical officer, Dr. Rosemary Koo, she was talking about it in her presentation, was the social determinants of health is a big thing lately. In the anywhere you go, any conference, everybody's talking about that. But that is in agriculture, right? The housing, the way you are building the community, providing all that resource. That's your social determinants of health, because that's what makes you a healthy person, where you have the option of a better housing or even community. The way the people that you just described must have been the other healthiest people out there, because they're doing something.
Well, they're very active. Their kids are active.
A fulfilling life.
That's what we'll try to look in and make sure that, like in Soledad where we are, Gonzales, that the YMCA's and stuff, those programs for the kids, right? What we're proud of, I think, is this amazing team members that we have. That look, I mean, probably be gone for 2-3 months. Everything's going to be fine. They run the business. And very entrepreneurial folks that we have take a lot of pride in it. A lot of folks have been here for so long that they think of it as part of their company, and it is, because they were here and they built it. One thing I understand quickly was the health of your team members is, we need them to show up to work, right? But how are they, but how's their mental health? People are going to have ups and downs, and it's going to have these issues. And trying to, when COVID broke out, we tried to put up regular communications with folks saying, hey, you're stuck at home. Maybe your husband or wife is working because you're an essential person. Maybe both of you are. So you get to go out and work, but the hard part is when you got home at 5 o'clock at night, you try to go to the grocery store. There was nothing there, right? Because everything was being taken off the shelf. So, hey, reach out to your supervisors and foremans, and if you need something, we'll go get it for you, right?
Yeah.
We'll go to the grocery store if somebody's sick. Let us know, right? And it's really easy. Right.
See, that is, I know you think it's easy and it comes natural to you, but that's not across the board. It's employees at Braga Farms are fortunate to have that, because I haven't seen that across the board, because employers, especially from mental health, when the things like you said during COVID, it was crazy, right? Not a lot of employers did this for their employees. So kudos to you.
And it was a little bit of me, and it was a lot of our team, and said they just really took it and ran with it, right? They were like, hey, we're going to do this. We were this is our team members. It was not me. They were literally buying huge 50-pound sacks of beans, and then they would bring our management in, and we were bagging them into smaller amounts and handing them out, right, to the folks, and really because they couldn't find them in the stores. And then another one of our team members got involved with the government, USDA, and they had where they're doing deals where we were donating vegetables there, and then they were getting it to the communities. Remember, they were passing out in the communities. And so one of our team members said, well, we've got the refrigeration trailers, so we can help facilitate that. And so where they were doing it at the different cities, but remember, a lot of our team members out in the field, both of them are working, maybe not for us, but they're working in a processing plant for us, and somebody's in a field, or somebody's a tractor driver for us, and somebody else is working for another company. And so it was like they were handing out all this help, 10, 12, these people sure work, right? So we started doing it before work and after work here. I smiled and liked it when I heard about it, but I had zero input in making it happen, and they were getting it done.
I think in the very small way, United Ag that's what I say. Let's set an example, and you are setting it in a very big way. I'm glad I came in here today, because it's just listening to you, to have employers like you. It just feels so empowering. It's so
well.
That's
that's very gracious for you to say, and I would just say that we're the lucky ones, right? So if I didn't have this incredible team, hadn't built this stuff, I would be working a heck of a lot harder than I personally have to not even do an eighth of a job that they're getting done for me. It really is something when you're building something, you're building a company, you're building the kind of an idea of how it should run. God, we've been so lucky with our folks that they run it really well, and they take a lot of pride in it.
It's interesting when you were talking about that, reminded me of a story I tell about building cathedrals. Because when in the past, people, when they build the cathedral, it was a community thing, right? You engaged everybody in the community to build this cathedral. You employed people. Then that became if floods or whatever happened, that became your safe place to go. So it was the cathedral, the concept was you building that for the community, getting people excited. So I always, so a couple of years ago when I was in Spain, I'd seen Gaudi's cathedral out there, La Sagrada. It reminded me, kind of connected to United Ag for some reason at that point. And as you're talking right now, that's what it reminds me of. The ranch out here is the cathedral in Soledad.
We certainly think of it that way. it's been a pleasure. It's been fun to sit down and talk with you about this. And I kind of like it because it's sort of history now that other of our team members can listen to what we talked about and a long time from now and see that, there was some thought put into it. And a lot of what we did just kind of happened. We kind of got, like Laura can tell you. Like,
yeah. And you do your day-to-day stuff. You don't think it's
exactly.
It's
and
that, but
a lot of times we were just like, gosh, I can't believe we just did this. I can't believe that this just happened.
Yeah.
And now, it's like, it's amazing. It's like, it's kind of like a well-maintained watch or something, right?
Yeah.
You're always going to have stuff going on, but you're going to tackle it, right?
Yep. Agreed, agreed.
So we're excited, I guess, about the next 95 years.
Nice. That's, that's awesome. Because we don't step back and say, what did we do, right? You're going to the next level.
We're always changing.
We don't celebrate.
You're always changing.
The past.
You have to continue and change and move forward, or you're just going to be left behind. Yeah, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Yep. Thank you for the time.